Welcome back to Hiking with Kathleen. In today's episode, this is our Arrowhead camping trip, part 2. In it, we're going to take a tour of the nearby town of Huntsville and take a drive up to the beautiful Lions Lookout, which overlooks the whole town of Huntsville. Then we go on a day trip to the Haliburton Wolf Sanctuary, where we get to observe wolves up close. And finally, we're going to take a bike ride down to Mayflower Lake. That is right in Arrowhead Provincial Park. Join us for these and the upcoming adventures in Episode 2. Shannon and I are on a bit of a road trip. We're going into the town of Huntsville, and in particular, there is a lookout that overlooks the town of Huntsville. So we're going to go to that for our first time and see what kind of an amazing view it might be. So Shannon found out from a couple of people that this is a really good place to come and have a look at Huntsville from above. So we are at Lions Lookout. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Lions Lookout.
So we're going to give you an opportunity to see the beauty of the Huntsville area, which is only 10 minutes away from Arrowhead Provincial Park. Okay, so we're on our way to our favorite store, which is Algonquin Outfitters. Might have to have a look, might not buy anything, but there's nothing wrong with looking. So we just arrived here at the Haliburton Forest and Wildlife Reserve, and this is a wolf sanctuary. So this is something that we're going to participate in this evening. The event starts at 4 o'clock. The event includes just the two of us. So basically it's a dinner for the two of us, and there's an observatory that we will be looking out, and we should be able to see wolves if all goes well. They don't guarantee wolf sightings, but in the sanctuary, that's the best place to see them. So you can't go out on the land and start looking for them that way. You have to see them through the windows. And then there'll be some interpreters in there, and we're going to watch and listen for the program to unfold. And we're bringing you along. So we're sitting in this observatory, and we have paid for this three-course meal. We're just starting into it. And there were 4 wolves sitting around us just outside the windows. So this is one-way glass. They can't see in other than maybe shadows, and they can hear sounds. But they're not fed in an obvious fashion by the caretakers here. So they don't associate people with food. And they are trying, the staff here, they try to keep the wolves as naturally fearful of humans as possible. So they're not treated as pets. So this is an education center. So there's all kinds of information for us to read out there, as we've been doing. But then this is the time of day when they're a little bit more active and they come towards the building. And it's just fascinating to be able to watch them. And it's in a state of total disregard of our presence. Because if anything, they might hear if there's loud noises inside, or see shadows as they pass across the window. But it is one-way glass, so there's not a lot of that they can see. Anyway, fascinating experience. Shanna's just getting her camera ready for that one. So now we just got back home, and what a great experience that was. So what we did is, it was a few days ago, we booked this experience at the Haliburton Wolf Sanctuary. And we didn't really know what to expect. Steve, my nephew, has been there in the past and suggested dinner with wolves. So we figured, okay, well, we like to eat every day. It was a steak dinner. And then this is where you're at a sanctuary where there's an observatory with one-way glass. So that is where you're eating on the inside. It's one-way glass, so they can't really see anything other than maybe forms moving across the window. If you're loud enough, they can hear you. But these are wolves that are not acclimatized to humans. They are not ones that interact with humans. And so Haliburton is, about an hour and 20, an hour and a half?
An hour and a half.
Okay, so it's an hour and a half away from our campground here at Arrowhead. And I guess the bottom line is it was worth it. So I guess what we'll do is we'll give you some features and benefits as to why we really enjoyed this experience. Maybe we can start off with what it is that you really appreciated about the experience, Shannon.
Well, I've only seen wolves on television. I've never seen them in real life, because I think, was it the Toronto Zoo we went to, and they had a wolf area there? We looked, you couldn't see them. And yeah, so this was fantastic. They just all come around the window and...
Yeah, so I guess the big thing is they're just used to having that space. So the sanctuary itself is 7 acres in size. Mm-hmm. The area that is closest to the window is about 1 acre in size, and that tends to be an area they use quite a bit. It's where they are fed, and the kind of food they're fed would be things like venison, moose, and we saw some evidence of that. We saw, moose hide that was, deferred out on the lawn.
Yeah, I didn't realize they ate the hide. Like, it's a treat for them, and it's extremely nutritious. And
we saw some bones out there too, some leg bones.
Their favorite thing to eat are beavers. That was new to me,
So they try to give them a diet that's as similar to what they would catch if they were living on their own. So the area is all fenced in, and these animals are studied. So they are used for educational purposes. Students and other groups come through. They had a really great, fantastic area that was full of displays, including skulls, and it had stuffed specimens of not only wolves, but moose, beaver, fishers, coyotes, so it was good to be able to compare the size of these animals. So the species that we got to see today, it was the gray wolf. And I guess that's the kind of wolf that you would find in this area. This is a pack size of 5 animals. 4 of them are adults, and I believe the 4 that are adults are 5-year-olds. I don't know that all of them are 5 years old, but at least 3 of the 4 are 5-year-old adults, and 1 was a cub. It was a pup from this year, 4.5 months old. And so I'd asked some questions of the naturalist named Bella, who spent her time with us. And the cub, I said, well, where's the mother? And she said, an unfortunate thing happened. The mother gave birth to her and her brother, and then shortly thereafter died. And it was a 9-year-old female. It was the first litter she'd ever given birth to. And anyway, but the other wolves, they step in and they offer regurgitated food. And the primary goal of the wolf pack when there's a cub is to make sure that the cubs survive. So they sort of all pitch in. And I guess there's some interesting dynamics that are going on right now, because that was the female, that was the alpha. And there's only one alpha that can exist at a time. Her presence suppresses the desire and the physiological coming of age of other females, so that there's no competition that way. Right now, that female is gone. She died. So there's a couple of other females, and one seems to be a little on the submissive side. The other one seems to be more gregarious. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes about and how the next alpha female emerges. So anyway, it was really interesting to get to see their behavior. There was a time where we got to see all 5 of them at the same time. And in one of the frames that I filmed, 4 of them were in the frame at one time. So that was quite a thrill. There's one that's a female that might vie for that alpha position, and she's quite independent. She only made an appearance once all night. So, and about the program itself, the timing in the fall is from 4 till 6 p.m. And in the summertime, which probably wraps up around Labor Day weekend, it would be a schedule of 5 to 7 p.m. So those who are interested in participating in Dinner with Wolves, your timeline in the fall would be 4 to 6. It's 2 hours anyway. And if it's the summer, it's from 5 to 7 p.m. You can go during the day, and those hours are from 11 to 3 p.m. And so you're just paying the cost of admission. And that goes into helping to care for the wolves. And of course, there are staff that work there. There were 2 naturalists that were on during the time that we were there. So anyway, it was interesting watching the wolf behavior. They just didn't seem to care that there was occasional sound coming from the building. They just carried on. They would look over. They would look for a shadow. And then they would look away, and you'd hear the ravens out in the background. They could pipe in music that was from their own stereo system, or, as we opted, they could pipe it in from outside. So you could tell if there were ravens making sounds. They were all sort of paying attention. And there was actually, in one case, a dog was barking, and, they really gave a lot of attention to that. There were 2 wolves that sort of perked up because the dog would be their competition, and they would often do away with competition. So what interesting things did you notice? I noticed you walked out with a cap today.
I did, my Haliburton wolf cap.
Yep. So
I wanted to support them, and I like wearing caps while paddling and that. So yeah.
So you've got yourself a nice souvenir.
Yeah.
Excellent. Anything else you want to throw in terms of observations made or anything like that?
Yeah, I thought when they were all up by the observation deck is because that's where they know they get fed, but they feed them. They only feed them once every 2 weeks.
Yeah. So it's not they're simulating the lifestyle of a wolf. Wolves don't kill every day. They kill, and then they eat that food, and they actually will cache it. They'll bury it in the ground.
And you can see the holes all along the edges where they have
saved their food.
Saved their food, yeah.
They want to hide it from other, not predatory animals, but ones that are scavengers, like turkey vultures and, other animals that are going to come by and take a free meal. So, so it was interesting. You could sort of just, see the interaction between them as that was unfolding. Now, we had a really interesting drive. It was a beautiful day. We had stellar conditions, no rain or anything like that. And as we were driving home, probably about 20 minutes before we got back to the campground, we had a very interesting observation out at the side of the road. And what was that, Shannon?
A porcupine.
No, it wasn't a porcupine. We saw a moose. We both saw it at the same time. And I'm pointing it out to Shannon in the hopes that she's going to pull over so I can film it. But instead, as cars go this way, hers veered out into the center of the road. And why was that? Why did that happen?
I didn't want Betty White to get hit by a moose.
That's the name of her truck. So instead of giving her wife the opportunity to film a cool animal, it was a cow. It was a female moose. The moose came out of the woods, was looking around. They're very big, right? And we were going by at highway speeds, and then she just went back along the trail. This is long after Shannon's already veered into the opposing lane of traffic with no cars coming at us. So she wasn't interested.
Well, there was really no place to pull over because it's such a windy road.
It was.
Yeah, there was not much of a shoulder at all. So
we had several sightings. I saw a little group of 3 deer. We saw a moose. We saw some wild turkeys.
I saw about 15, 20 turkeys today.
Yep.
Coming in, getting ready for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we saw one female turkey and one chick, and I thought they normally come in batches of like 12. And then Shannon mentioned that, Thanksgiving's coming up. The Canadian Thanksgiving is about the second week of October. So I don't know, maybe that's what happened. Okay, well, anyway, that's a wrap for today's adventure. We're so glad you had a chance to see some of that really cool wolf footage. It left us really awestruck. So anyway, it's something for you to consider if you're up in this area, the Haliburton Wolf Center or Wolf Sanctuary. Okay, so we're just leaving our campsite. We're going to go on a little bit of a bike ride. We're going to go check out Mayflower Lake.
No, we're not. That's too hilly. Then you'll cry over your knee pain.
Yeah, so anyway, it's awkward right now because it sounds like we're negotiating. Anyway, we're going to go for a little bike ride and stretch our legs today. So we're just cycling through Lumbee Campground. It's, I believe it's all non-electric in here, and so it's virtually deserted. We have a frost warning for tonight, so if you're a tenter, you know, it's kind of nice to have electricity, at least to have something like an electric blanket or something to keep you warm. But anyway, it's beautiful in here, nice and quiet. Hello. So this is nice. There's a little tucked away spot with 2 picnic tables with a nice vantage point. So this is a very quiet lake. This is one I prefer coming to. However, it's a hike to get here. So we don't generally do that. There's a parking lot right out there so we can hear some folks. It's just that it's also not too far from the highway. But this is such a beautiful little lake, Mayflower Lake. So that's where we paddled yesterday, and that was the current that was a little bit too fast for us. And over on this side is Arrowhead Lake. So pretty well wherever you go in this park at this time of year, it's beautiful as the colors are starting to change. It'll be amazing in another couple of weeks. Okay, so we're back at the site. We didn't go for very long, maybe an hour or something like that at the most. So anyway, it wasn't a very long ride. We just, it was nice to be able to just sit down at the lake and take in the sights. And then there were some people that were down there to fish. And we made our way back along the trails in the woods. So now we're just having a break. And then, and if you haven't seen it, I'm going to maybe just show you that we have a little tent that is meant for bicycles, and that's where we're storing them. So I'll just show you that right now. This is where the bikes are stored, and on the back side we have the lock attached to a tree. So we always put this structure where it's close to a tree. Yeah, Miley's inside. She didn't feel like coming out right now. But we are going to have our dinner outside, and we are going to be setting up a bonfire. So we're looking forward to that. We haven't done that yet. We've been here for, about 5 or so days. So we're looking forward to having our first bonfire tonight. So we're getting this fire ready because we're going to be cooking on that. That's how we're going to be cooking our dinner this evening. So we're quite excited about that. We've got chicken, we've got some mixed vegetables, and we've got potatoes. So I'll be getting started with that soon because the coals are coming along very nicely. In previous videos, I have shown how we just do all of our dishwashing outside. So we try our best to keep as much moisture out of the trailer as possible. So we boil our water out here. So these are the dishes that need to be washed. This is the dinner that I was talking about. Jalapenos for Kathleen. And then we've got all these mixed vegetables. And then rosemary potatoes. So these are the things that are going to get fried up. And we have the cast iron pan ready for that. So this whole operation is going to be underway very soon, and to the mix will be added some chicken.
That's it. Show your belly. You've been working hard on it.
Where's the baby?
looks good.
Smells good too. All right. So we've gone through how we like to do our dishes in the past, and but this is a bit of a refresher. This is a 5-gallon container that's on wheels, and we just wheel it right down to the water dispenser that's on this road. So that's what we use. Shannon's inside boiling some of that water right now because this is campground water. It doesn't mean that it's bad water. It's usually potable water. What we do is we bring 5-gallon, those clear containers with a USB rechargeable water dispenser. That's what we drink from. Those are containers that we fill with water at home. When we run out of those jugs, then we end up going to a local store, and then we'll end up buying more spring-fed or whatever it is kind of water they say, as opposed to drinking the campground water. The reason we do that is because Shannon has an allergy to sulfur, and sometimes there's a little trace amount. We just don't want to risk that. So this is where we are going to be able to use the water that comes from the campground and just use that to wash our dishes. So that's how we do things. These are containers where we dump the water here as opposed to filling our gray tank. So it's a suggestion. These are things that fit into our sink inside the trailer. So it's something you might consider because, I mean, it's a finite amount, and then you end up having to use the little tinkle trolley on the back in order to bring it to the dump station. So we try to minimize those trips if we can. We know that after we're here for a week, we will need to empty out the black water and the gray water. Then after another week, we'll need to do the same thing. So we're here for 4 weeks, so that means that, you know, that's what we're about to do. So that's just to give you an idea of how it is that we try to conserve water while we're here in the campground. Shannon is just getting ready to use the kettle to boil water for our tea, and so therefore she's using water that we brought from home. So in those 5-gallon containers, which we put in the sink inside the trailer. Okay. Now it's the task that we need to do. Wash the dishes. So we got everything all squared away. The dishes are put away. Shannon is the one who does the lion's share of the dinner prep. She's the one who does all of the chopping up of everything. And so that was all done, and then that's what became a really wonderful meal. So now we're out here having our tea and just enjoying the last of the logs that we have on the fire. So we're really quite looking forward to, we were looking forward to this whole evening, you know, being able to just sort of sit back and relax and stay here. It's been a busy few days, actually. Yeah, so it's been kind of a nice culmination of things because, well, it took a lot of prep to get here. Now that we're here, and it's been almost a week that we've been here. But it feels like, you know, every day presents us with a different sort of adventure. And that's the part that's exciting for us, right?
That's right.
Join us next week for episode 3 while we continue camping at Arrowhead Provincial Park. We go on a day trip that requires us to take a water taxi out to Opiongo Lake, getting us all the way out to Hailstorm Creek. There we explore by canoe. And then I take a hike all the way around Arrowhead Lake. Join us next week.